Hello everybody and welcome back to Odin's Movie Blog. I am the Critic Host Cynic. Hope you're doing well today. We're going to be talking once again about some Star Wars news. First talking about this Wired.com story, which is like, guys, don't forget, the story broke days ago, but let's just remind you, Kathleen Kennedy isn't going anywhere. Too bad, you man babies, I know. But yeah, this is still being pushed because, what else can they do? What else can they do? They can't go to the box office. They can't, look at the fact that Venom in its opening weekend has already made more than half of what Solo made in its entire run. They can't talk about the Blu-ray sales for The Last Jedi, not even getting close to, what The Force Awakens did. No, they can't talk about that. They can't talk about how, the merchandise is just awful right now. Oh no, so they have to be like, oh, but you see, you were wrong. You see, you were wrong about this. Kathleen Kennedy isn't going anywhere for the next 3 years. Yeah, that might be the case. That might well be the case. Again, I totally accept this as being part of the news and part of the news cycle. And you know what? That's, it is what it is. And you know what? I think at the end of the day that Disney is going to end up paying the price for it at the box office. Because at the end of the day, that's mostly what I care about is the box office numbers, because Solo was bad. And somebody tells me that Episode 9 is not going to be that much better. Maybe $200 million more. Maybe a little bit more than that, but it's going to barely break even, seeing that they're probably going to spend like $500+ million on that film alone, just like they did on Solo because of the balloon budget, because, of who? Oh, that's right, Kathleen Kennedy. Oh, but she's not going anywhere. She's not going anywhere at all. Oh, man, so let's read this before we get into probably one of my favorite stories over the last couple of days to come out, but let's go into this first. Even though the next movie doesn't hit theaters for more than a year, yeah, technically still true, there's a surprising amount going on in the Star Wars universe, or at least behind the scenes of it. In some cases, it's new projects getting the headlines, and in others, it is, oddly, the status remaining quo that is grabbing people's attention. Regardless, one thing is for sure, everyone who thought Lucasfilm was preparing to U-turn away from its current course was probably wrong, and that's not a good thing. Look at the current state of Star Wars. But you're not going to hear that from Wired. No, they're just going to, we're objective. We're an objective news source. We're not going to dive into any of the political ramifications or, go into numbers or anything like that. We're just going to stay totally, we're going to talk about it. We're going to say that Kathleen Kennedy isn't going anywhere because we know that, people will understand what we're trying to get through with that. But, we're not going to go into it much further than that now. The source, old order doesn't changeth. The old order doesn't changeth. Are we in medieval England, my lord? The source news reports on Lucasfilm and Disney's hiring practices appears to be 100% legit. I like that word, legit. This article right here is legit. The real deal, the legit deal, you could say. Despite the rumors that many were pushing, it turns out that Disney is more than happy with the performance of Lucas president Kathleen Kennedy. Or could it be they know that if they were to fire her or replace her, it would be worse for them than keeping her on? It could be that. Or possibly could it be that they're just so empty-headed, they're so hard-headed, they think, no, I don't care if Star Wars is getting destroyed. I don't care if the box office numbers are crap. I don't care if we're not selling the toys anymore, even though that's where we get all of our money. That's okay. That's totally okay, because diversity and inclusion are what's most important. And she embraces these tenets, and we can't get rid of her. We can't get rid of her. How can we know this for sure? Because Disney just extended her contract for 3 years, something that massively successful corporations don't tend to do with people they're dissatisfied with. Matthew Kadish might have a few gripes with that as far as, being totally dissatisfied with and, all that stuff. But I wouldn't say that they're wrong in the fact that they probably like her as a person, that they're probably all good friends. But I don't think anyone can be happy with the fact that Solo lost $200 million. I mean, I wouldn't put it in those words exactly. That said, some are suggesting that it's actually just a stay of execution, which is, well, pretty surreal, really. With that, most of us had such understanding and generous bosses. Well, I mean, I don't think it's a stay of execution. There might be some people that are saying that. I'm not one of them. I honestly think that she is going to be around for 3 more years, but I think it's more out of stubbornness and also a sense of ego more than actually her earning a 3-year contract extension, because I don't think that's really the case here. Particularly interesting is the Hollywood Reporter story is the suggesting that Disney and Lucasfilm are considering pushing Star Wars more in the direction of television than movies in the future, which could particularly interesting if true, not least of all because George Lucas Lucas was thinking this a decade or so earlier. Perhaps the future of the galaxy far, far away lives on the small screen. I've said this before. I think The Mandalorian looks very promising. I really do think that Jon Favreau is a good person to be like the first person to dive into a live-action Star Wars series. I think that's a good choice. Whether or not Kathleen Kennedy gets involved or not, I hope she doesn't, because if she gets her grimy little hands on it, I think it's going to probably taint it a little bit. But again, I do think that that's fine. But the problem is, and we have to look at this very carefully, is that, yes, why do you think this is the case? Because they can sell their network. They can sell their Disney streaming service to anyone for a variety of different things. And so therefore, Star Wars is just going to be one of a plethora of options for people to actually be able to consume. And it's also a lot harder for us to get actual hard data as to how the shows are going to be doing in comparison to others. And it makes sense that they would do this because guess what? It's not working out at the box office. Solo was the big example. Solo was the big example for them to probably try and start to fade away from the big screen. And it has nothing to do with the fact that you can't make good Star Wars films, because guess what? You can if you have a competent director, if you have a good writer, and guess what? If you have a production team that knows what they're doing, instead of just greenlighting any which project you want that just breaks the Star Wars universe, like The Last Jedi did. But, you know, what would I know? I'm just someone talking on YouTube about facts. But anyway, I have no problem with that. As far as them moving to the smaller screen, as long as it's good, as long as it's good stories, but also I don't think that's going to be, now eventually they're going to say, oh, it's such a huge success. Well, again, it's hard really to gauge that. It's hard really to, find that metric as to how well or not a show is doing, or at least to the point where they would actually release things to the public, because you don't really get ratings anymore from Netflix, for example. So it's really hard to tell, other than a show getting renewed, it's really hard to tell whether a show is being successful or not. So, that is what it is. But let's talk about the best thing today, and that is Chuck Wendig, the worst man with the best beard, or one of the best beards in the business, I would say. Chuck Wendig, your beard and I could be friends. I couldn't be friends with you because you're despicable, because you're disgusting. You're a terrible human being. And I usually don't say that about people. I don't like saying that about people. But you, on a consistent basis, prove yourself to be a despicable person. And I pray that you're able to find just a little bit of light in your heart to be able to come back to reality. And also, for the meantime, as you search for it, get the hell out of Star Wars, because we don't need you here. But anyway, Star Wars writer Chuck Wendig is back to his old ways. But this time he's calling for violence against Trump supporters and those who oppose his own political beliefs. Oh, boy. Oh my goodness, 2016, I can't get over it. 2016 happened. Trump is still president. How do I get past this? I'm so sick of it. Just get on with your life. Just get on with your life. If you care that much about it, good. Vote. If you have an election coming up in November, good. Go vote. Make your voice be heard that way. Don't call for violence against a group of people. Are you kidding me? When we talk about free speech in this country, one of the things that should not be protected is a call to violence against someone or actual violence against someone. And so Chuck Wendig, who gets that, little verified check mark, so interesting. Read Chuck Wendig's Twitter one day. I can't because he blocked me. A nobody on Twitter he blocked because he couldn't take facts. He couldn't take an honest discussion because, that's just who he is. That's the great guy that Chuck Wendig is. Chucky is. But I would ask him, excuse me, but why is it that Chuck Wendig has a blue verified check mark, which is essentially, in a lot of ways, a promotion by Twitter because it does help. It does help with the algorithm. I do know this. Why is it that he is constantly able to put these disgusting things out there, and yet you don't give him a strike, you don't kick him off Twitter? And I know people who have very, very small channels and therefore reach smaller audiences who have been kicked off of Twitter for nothing. For literally nothing. Could it possibly be because Twitter has a political agenda? Could it possibly be that? No, it's just the algorithm. I'm sorry there was just misunderstanding, but it's actually the algorithm. It's the algorithm. It says, yeah, if you don't align with my politics, just screw you. Wendig isn't a stranger to these long-winded, crazed rants. He previously has called Star Wars fans white supremacists. Oh, yes, Star Wars fans are white supremacists. Being critical of The Last Jedi makes me a white supremacist. Oh my gosh. I'm a white supremacist? I had no idea. He's threatened to sue people over a parody shirt. Oh, whatever. Wait a minute. Do they have it? Please tell me. If you're not blocked by Chuck Wendig, you're doing something wrong. Oh my goodness. Are they selling this right now? Are they excelling this right now? And now I guess I have to lawyer up. What fun. Shirt with my likeness posted to harass me by Star Wars quote-unquote fans. I mean, really, guys? T-Public, be advised, they're profiling off my likeness, which is against your submission guidelines. Oh, please tell me this is still up. Sounds like fair use to me. That sounds totally like fair use to me. Wait a minute. They took it down? No. They took it down. Yeah, and this is why we can't have nice things. This is why we can't have nice things. It looks like they took the shirt down. I want that shirt. If anyone can find, sorry, that's my music. If anyone can find that shirt, please send it to me, because that looks absolutely fantastic. That's the kind of shirt that I would wear, because guess what? If you're not blocked by him, you really are doing something wrong, because it means that you probably think like this idiot, and so therefore you probably you probably should just go away for a very, very long time. Latest Meltdown, he says, there will be renewed calls for civility. Ignore them. They ask for civility as a way for you to grant them complicity in what they do. What? What's wrong with civility? You can have a disagreement with someone and yet be civil. Why would anyone in their right mind, which Chuck Wendig obviously isn't, why would you fight against civility and civil discourse? Civility is for normalcy. When things are normal and working as intended, civility is a part of maintaining balance. But when that balance is gone, civility does not help return it, but rather destabilize it further, because your civility gives them cover for evil. Evil. Chuck Wendig says evil. Note, this isn't the same as calling for violence, but it is suggesting that you should not be shamed for using vigorous, vulgar language, or for standing up in disobedience, or for demanding acknowledgement and action in whatever way you must, because, oh my goodness, I must be acknowledged. My safe space is just that. It's a safe space, and I can't be attacked. I can't. No one can disagree with me. Wait a minute, you're saying something I don't agree with. No. Grow up, Chuck Wendig. Anyone that thinks like you, Chuck, needs to seriously just go away for a while and really just think about your life, because it's people like you. It's people like you, especially in our collegiate system, that is seriously driving people who would be becoming adults into everlasting childhood. It's because of you. It's because of you coddling these young adults to the point where they stay 18 for the rest of their lives. And just totally do not add anything to society except for a whiny voice. It's because of people like you that these people will never grow up. It's because of people like you that these people will never understand what the real world is like. It's because of people like you, Chuck Wendig, that the world in our society will continue to remain stagnant, because unfortunately these kids that are following you and your philosophy are the ones that are the future of our country and of our world, for that matter. And it is terrifying. But anyway, guys, what are your thoughts about this? I mean, Wendig would claim his call for incivility was not a call for violence, and yet he just doubles down on that entire thing. Not even getting into the F Trump, but he's just the ugly, fake gold mask they've put on this thing. F all the GOP. F those blubbering, bristled frat boy judge. F McConnell, Ryan, Grassley, Collins, every last one of them. F them for how they shamed victims and helped dismantle democracy. I didn't know they did those things. How did they shame victims? Last time I heard she had a trial. Last time I heard she was allowed to speak, and they said she was credible. They just didn't believe that it was the one that did it. Oh, but we can't say that. Oh my goodness, no. You can't say that. We must believe her. We must believe everyone that makes any allegation ever without any corroborative evidence. No. Oh my goodness, Chuck. Chuck, there's something wrong with you, bud. Chuck says, they will tell you to smile, that we need to get back to business, that we gotta heal the rift and blah, blah, blah. But that's the desire of a savvy bully who wants you to stop crying after he hits you. Don't ever stop crying, Chuck. Don't you ever stop crying. I'm gonna cry with you. Who wants you not to fight back? But you can cry. You can fight back, you can cry, you can go to your safe space, you can block everyone on Twitter that disagrees with you, and you can defriend and unfriend anyone that disagrees with you, and you can remain in your tiny little bubble, hiding away from the world, Chuck. You can keep on doing that, and just like the people you're influencing, you can refuse to grow up. But guys, this is all great stuff. Look at it. They can eat crap, all of them. They can eat a boot covered in crap. Winter's coming, you callous F-necks. You prolapse a-holes. You grotesque monsters. You racists and rapists and wrench. Wait, what? This guy is making allegations against people. If we want to talk about spam, if we want to talk about the degrading of someone's character, how is Chuck Wendig still allowed to be on Twitter? If you're going to delete someone, oh my goodness, I can't even do this. Guys, you already know way too many examples of people who've either been kicked off Twitter or have been given warnings for their content. If this isn't content worth getting warnings for, I don't know what the hell else is, because this is someone who is very much calling for violence against people, is very much so calling for incivility, as he says, saying, no, you can still yell. Again, what does it say? Oh, yeah, you can still, where is it? There will be new calls for civility. They ask for civility as you grant them complicity, wait for do it. Ignore them. Ignore calls for civility. He then doubles down and says, but is suggesting that you should not be ashamed for using vigorous, vulgar language. Get into your senator's face and yell at him, curse at him, call him names, call him everything. Mob mentality, mob rule. That is what Chuck Wendig and all the people of his ilk are promoting, is mob rule. Last time I checked, though, luckily, at least here, we live in a country where mobs don't rule. Now, I'm not going to go into the minutia of the different political levels and political parties, because that's not what this channel is all about. But if you're going to go out there, Chuck, and you're going to essentially call for violence and yelling in people's face, and you're going to say and defend that as a type of discourse, and you're going to actually think that that's the way that you improve society, that you improve discourse, that you actually improve society in general, just get the hell out of here, man. But guys, what are y'all's thoughts about this? Chuck Wendig is freaking crazy, guys. He is absolutely insane, and the fact that this guy still has an active Twitter page when so many others have been either kicked off or temporarily suspended for saying significantly less things. Not only less cursing, not only not calling for violence, but just on an entirely different level altogether. The fact that people like him and even terrorist organizations and people like that can still have Twitter pages is disgusting. And for all social media platforms, especially you, YouTube, because you love to demonetize people and hide videos and give strikes against people for a variety of different reasons, I would say just stop. Just stop, because you know what? There's eventually going to be a new platform that's going to replace you. And I can't wait for that day. But guys, if you like this video, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe. I really would appreciate it. Also, if you are someone who is in a safe space and anything I said offends you, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I've offended you. Go back to your safe space. But eventually the real world's gonna come knocking at your door, and you're gonna have to wake up, and you're gonna have to, as in the words of a recent senator on Capitol Hill, grow up. Have a good day, and as always, God bless.